You are now considered basically the godfather of punk. Did you think of yourself as being ahead of your time, or just as like being different when you started to perform with the Stooges?
You better be different if you want to make any sort of lasting impression, I think. So there was some conscious effort to stand out. I didn't think there was a big future in sort of wearing a bowl haircut and a little polyester shirt and imitating the Yardbirds or something. So we were trying to do something fresh, and then the timeliness issue, that's tricky. And I still don't know what the real meaning of that phrase, it's ahead of your time, is.
Well, in this case, sure. I mean, the sound that you were creating was inspired a lot of other bands. A lot of bands, yeah. I
would have to say the rest of the world was behind its effing time, is what I would say. Mm-hmm. We were, as far as I was concerned, where things should be for us anyway. Given what talent we had to make the sounds, these were the sounds that were suggested to me by the architecture of the time, the ideas of the time, the social quakes of that time, things like that, and the musical history, the automotive design, all that suggested this music, and also a lot of this was the next logical step of the best current music being done at that time, as far as I was concerned.
Well, how did the ideas of the time shape the music, in the sense that, we're talking 1969, your first album, and, for a lot of people, this is the era of, say, like, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, or the Grateful Dead, or the Jefferson Airplane, right?
That was just all the phony, that shit was all phony as a $3 bill, really, and all those people were they were talking one thing and living another. These you must have noticed they all got fat really quickly physically, and there's a reason for that. It's visual. It was a visual sign of their incredible corruption. And I mean, in the case of the Airplane, they went all the way from White Rabbit to We Built This City on Rock and Roll. It's just this crappy song, But
Iggy Pop is never going to get fat. No one's going to accuse you of being fat.
Well, but there was all that going on, and basically, I think Meet the New Boss, same as the old boss, and Won't Get Fooled Again by Pete Townsend, sums it up in a certain way. But there was a new bunch that was going to organize the disaffected youth and be a new group of leaders for us. And we came along, my band and I came along at just a couple years behind these people, and just thought, gee, do they suck? To put it in an inarticulate, inchoate way. But to get more articulate about it, the musical goods were swinging less and less, and there was more and more artifice built without a good foundation, which is why it didn't really make you feel very good. It just sounded really impressive, and then the promises made weren't really going to be kept at any power level in the society. If I turned on the radio, if I turned on AM radio, I had to wait for 39 Leslie Gore songs to hear one good Beatles song, right? And if I turned on the FM radio, I had to hear some guy who's, acting really, like he was a really cool guy, and we're going to play Mr. Fantasy again by Traffic, dig the flute on this, and it's just so awful and boring, and you had this crappy, and then everybody jumped on the bandwagon, so you had this pathetic song by a group called the Chambers Brothers, who were, likable black singing group who decided we got to get in on this psychedelic thing. So they had a song called "The Time," and it was, my mind has been psychedelicized, and it's just a lot of crap. And then professional songwriters, of course, who not to be left behind in the Brill Building, the same guys who used to write "It's my party and I'll cry if I want to." Then they had to get in on the act, and they're writing songs like "My Green Tambourine." You can play on the thing if you want, on this show if you want to illustrate my point.
Your music was kind of extreme in the sense of, it was loud. You were an extreme performer on stage. What impact did you want your performances to have on audiences?
You needed to shake them up enough so that by the time you leave, they'll remember. Basically, and you want to make a memorable impression. Aside from that, what sort doesn't really matter. Frankly, whatever works just doesn't matter. Whatever works and whatever takes place, and that's going to change from time to time. And a lot of that's going to depend on them, and they will tend to bring that to the party, especially if you leave the door open for them. As far as us being loud, we weren't any louder. There were all sorts of people being loud, but we weren't cuddly loud. Mm-hmm. We were disturbing. The music was disturbing. It disturbed, and it especially disturbed people that thought they understood what you had to be able to do to have a license to do this stuff in public, because we couldn't do that.
Right, because you weren't technically proficient. Is that what you mean?
We couldn't play Johnny Be Good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't learn that technique. We learned other techniques, but there were other things we could do, but not everybody picked up on that. And then I kind of had I don't know, something about me just generally pissed certain people off, but not other people.
Well, let's get to a little bit of what you did on stage. I mean, some of the things you've done on stage is cut yourself with glass, pour hot wax on your body. Do I have that right?
Yeah, but it took, it wasn't like I went out on Friday and cut myself with glass, and then I went out on Saturday and poured hot wax on my body. Those things happen. Those two incidents happened once each, and it was 4 years between them. So, but after you've, since I was born in 1783 and freed the slaves, and learned to read by candlelight in a log cabin, and introduced the electric guitar, I've had a long time to compile a huge list of these atrocities.